The notification sound from Jessica's phone cut through our morning coffee silence like a knife through butter. She lunged for it faster than a cat pouncing on a mouse, flipping it face down before I could catch even a glimpse of the screen. Work emergency, she mumbled, not meeting my eyes. Right. Work emergency at 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday. I'm Greg Quinn, 34 years old, and I've been debugging lies longer than I've been debugging code. As an IT security consultant in Boston, I've learned to spot patterns that don't belong. My wife's behavior had been glitching for weeks. Another girls' night tonight? I asked, stirring my coffee with deliberate slowness. Jessica's smile looked like it had been copy-pasted from a stock photo. Actually, yes. Tasha's going through a rough patch with her boyfriend. Tasha's rough patch. That was the sixth emergency this month. Either Tasha was the most crisis-prone person in Massachusetts, or my wife was feeding me garbage data. You've been so supportive lately, I said, watching her face carefully. All these late nights helping friends. She practically glowed at the compliment, which told me everything I needed to know. Jessica Quinn, PR manager extraordinaire, lived for praise like a smartphone lived for battery power. But this particular glow had a different quality to it, the kind that came from secrets, not satisfaction. I should get ready, she said, already heading toward the shower. Big presentation Monday. Hamohi, announced phone day. I waited until I heard the water running, then picked up her laptop from the coffee table. Old habits from my security consulting days. Jessica had always been careless with passwords, using the same combination for everything, our anniversary plus her maiden name. Predictable as morning traffic, her email was a goldmine of deception. Gym memberships she'd never mentioned, restaurant reservations for two at places we'd never been together. And then I found the thread that made my stomach drop to my shoes. Messages with someone named Blake Turner. The messages weren't explicit, but they didn't need to be. The tone said everything. Inside jokes, references to our place, heart emojis that she'd stopped sending me months ago. Blake Turner. I ran a quick search and found his Instagram profile. Fitness influencer, with abs that looked photoshopped and a smile that screamed, I steal other men's wives for fun. His bio read, living my best life in downtown Boston. Fitness is freedom. Freedom. Right. The shower was still running when I made my decision. I opened my laptop and accessed the Find My iPhone feature linked to Jessica's account. If she was having another emergency tonight, I'd know exactly where that emergency was located. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Can't make it tonight. Something came up with Tasha. Don't wait up. I typed back. No problem at all. Hope everything works out. But as I hit send, I was already pulling up the florist website I'd bookmarked earlier. Nothing said I know what you're doing, quite like flowers delivered to your secret lover's apartment with a breakup card attached. 20 minutes later, Jessica emerged from the shower, toweling her hair. She'd started using a new perfume recently, something expensive that smelled like desperation mixed with vanilla. You seem happy today, she said, settling next to me on the couch. Just excited for a quiet evening at home, I replied, tracking her location on my phone. She was still here, but the night was young. She kissed my cheek, and I caught another whiff of that perfume. It was the kind of scent that announced its presence from 3 rooms away. The kind designed to make an impression on someone new. I love you, Greg. Love you too, I said, and meant it. That was the twisted part. I still loved her, even as I planned her downfall. By 8 p.m., Jessica's phone showed her location at Blake's high-rise apartment building in Back Bay. I'd ordered the flowers an hour earlier. 2 dozen roses with a card that read, It's over. Thanks for the memories, B. I parked across the street from Blake's building and waited. The delivery truck arrived at 8:30, and I watched through binoculars as the doorman called up to the apartment. 5 minutes later, Jessica appeared in the lobby, looking confused and panicked as she signed for the flowers. She read the card, and her face went white as fresh snow. She pulled out her phone, probably calling Blake, then calling me when he didn't answer. My phone buzzed repeatedly, but I let it ring. Jessica ran outside, still holding the roses, looking up and down the street like a trapped animal. She tried calling again, then sent a flurry of text messages. I could practically see the gears grinding in her head as she tried to figure out what had gone wrong with her perfect little affair. Finally, she went back inside, and I drove home with a smile on my face. This was just the beginning. Sunday morning arrived with Jessica's puffy eyes and a story that would have made a fiction writer proud. According to her, Tasha had received mysterious flowers from an ex-boyfriend who was trying to cause drama. The whole situation had been so stressful that Jessica had barely slept. "Poor Tasha," I said, buttering my toast with theatrical concern. "These ex-boyfriends can be real troublemakers." Jessica nodded vigorously, probably relieved that I was buying her story. "Some people just can't let go, you know?" I know exactly what you mean. What Jessica didn't know was that I'd spent the previous evening setting up phase 2 of my campaign. Her social media accounts were about to become very interesting. I'd gained access to her Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts months ago, purely for security purposes, I'd told myself at the time. Now those administrative privileges were about to serve a different purpose entirely. The beauty of social media revenge is in the timing. Post too much at once, and it looks suspicious. Spread it out over several days, and it looks like someone's life is naturally falling apart. Monday morning, while Jessica was at her presentation, I scheduled her first post, a screenshot of a text conversation between her and Blake, with his contact info clearly visible. The message thread was innocent enough, just plans to meet for coffee. But I made sure to post it with a caption about exciting new connections and a winking emoji. Her friends started commenting within minutes. "Who's Blake? New friend? Spill the tea, girl." Jessica called me at lunch, voice tight with panic. "Greg, something weird is happening with my social media. I think I've been hacked." "That's terrible," I said, minimizing the window where I was scheduling her next post. "Have you changed your passwords recently?" "No, but I will right now. This is so embarrassing. People are asking about some guy I barely know, some guy she barely knew." Right. Tuesday's post was a photo I'd found on Blake's Instagram, him at a restaurant I recognized from Jessica's credit card statements. I posted it to her story with the caption, "Great dinner last night," and tagged several of her coworkers. By Wednesday, Jessica's phone was buzzing constantly with calls from friends and family members. Her mother had seen the posts and was asking questions. Her boss had noticed the tagged restaurant photo and was wondering why Jessica was out at expensive dinners when she'd claimed to be working late on the Henderson account. "I don't understand what's happening," Jessica said that evening, staring at her phone like it had grown tentacles. "Someone is posting things I didn't write, using photos I didn't take." "Maybe you should report it to the police," I suggested helpfully. "And tell them what? That someone is posting about my social life? They'll think I'm crazy." Thursday morning brought the PS Day Resistance, a scheduled post that went to her family group chat instead of her main feed. It was a screenshot of a text from Blake saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight," with several fire emojis. The message was accompanied by Jessica's typed response, "Finally some excitement in my life." Her phone started ringing before she'd even finished her morning coffee. First her sister, then her mother, then her Aunt Carol, who lived in Florida but somehow always knew everyone's business. "Jessica Marie Quinn," her mother's voice carried across the kitchen, even though the phone wasn't on speaker. "What is going on with these posts? Who is this Blake person, and why are you meeting him for excitement?" I watched Jessica's face cycle through several emotions: confusion, panic, anger, and finally resignation. "Mom, I can explain." "You better explain, young lady. Your father is asking questions, and I don't have answers." After Jessica hung up, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. "Greg, I think someone is trying to ruin my life." "Who would want to do that?" I asked, putting my arm around her shoulders. "You're a good person. You help your friends, you work hard, you're loyal to the people you love." She leaned into me, and I felt a moment of genuine sympathy. Then I remembered the messages between her and Blake, and the sympathy evaporated like morning dew. Friday brought the consequences. Jessica's boss called her into his office for what she described as a humiliating conversation about social media presence and company image. The PR firm she worked for had strict policies about personal conduct, especially for employees who managed other people's reputations. "They're suspending me pending a review," she told me that evening, her voice hollow. "They want to make sure my personal situation won't reflect poorly on the company." "That seems extreme," I said, though privately I was impressed with how quickly corporate politics had kicked in. My whole career could be over because of some hacker playing games with my accounts. That weekend, Jessica spent most of her time on the phone with tech support, trying to secure her social media accounts. She changed every password, enabled two-factor authentication, and even had a security expert from her company take a look at her devices. "Everything looks clean," she reported to me Sunday evening. "No malware, no suspicious activity." The guy said it might have been a targeted attack using publicly available information. Like someone who knows you personally? Maybe. Or just someone really good with computers. I nodded sympathetically while opening my laptop. Phase 3 was about to begin, and this time I wouldn't be working alone. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk, Blake Turner. Meeting Blake Turner in person was like shaking hands with a Ken doll that had learned to speak. Everything about him was artificially perfect, from his precisely styled hair to his protein powder-enhanced physique. We met at Murphy's Pub, a dive bar in Southie where the lighting was dim enough to hide the mutual disgust in our eyes. "You're the husband," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "You're the homewrecker," I replied, signaling the bartender for 2 beers. Blake laughed, which surprised me. "Fair enough. Look, I know this is weird, but I think we're on the same side now. The side that wants to destroy my wife? The side that wants to stop Jessica from destroying everyone around her." Blake pulled out his phone and showed me a series of text messages. "She's been sending me these since the flower incident, threatening to tell my sponsors that I forced myself on her, claiming she'll ruin my career if I don't help her figure out who's messing with her social media." I read through the messages, and my opinion of Jessica dropped another few notches. The woman I'd married was apparently capable of blackmail when cornered. "She's poison, man," Blake continued. "I thought she was just a bored housewife looking for some fun. Turns out she's a manipulative sociopath who documents everything for future leverage." "How long has this been going on?" 3 months. Started when she joined my gym. She came on strong, made it seem like her marriage was already over. Said you two were just roommates going through the motions. The beer arrived, and I took a long drink while processing this information. Jessica had been planning her exit strategy for months, building a case for why our marriage was already finished before she started cheating. "So what do you want from me?" I asked. Blake leaned forward conspiratorially. "I want her gone from my life completely, and I'm guessing you want her gone from yours. She has dirt on both of us now. Photos, messages, recordings she made without permission. We need to neutralize her before she uses that ammunition." "What kind of dirt does she have on me?" "Photos of your apartment that she took while you were sleeping. Messages where she complains about your inadequacies as a husband. She's been building a portfolio to justify her affair and probably to use in divorce proceedings." My hands clenched around the beer bottle. "What are you proposing?" "I have something she wants back." Blake reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone, an older model iPhone with a cracked screen. Her old phone. She left it at my place weeks ago and kept asking for it back. Now I know why. "What's on it?" "Everything. Messages with other guys. Apparently I wasn't her only side project. Photos she definitely doesn't want public. And conversations with your mutual friends where she says some pretty nasty things about everyone in her life." I stared at the phone like it was a winning lottery ticket. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because you're better at the technical stuff than I am. And because if this comes from you, it looks like a betrayed husband getting revenge. If it comes from me, it looks like a bitter ex-lover. The optics are better for both of us, if you're the one pulling the trigger." We spent the next hour going through the phone's contents. Blake was right. It was a treasure trove of incriminating material. Jessica had been juggling multiple relationships, manipulating friends and coworkers, and documenting everything with the thoroughness of a criminal preparing for trial. There were messages with her boss that crossed professional boundaries, photos she'd taken of other people's private moments at parties, screenshots of conversations where she mocked mutual friends behind their backs. She sent topless photos to at least 3 different guys, Blake noted, scrolling through the image gallery, including that personal trainer at the gym and some guy from her college alumni group. And she kept copies on her phone? She keeps copies of everything. I think she gets off on the power of having leverage over people. By the time we finished our second round of beers, we had a plan. Blake would continue playing along with Jessica's attempts to reconcile, keeping her distracted while I weaponized the contents of her old phone. The goal wasn't just to expose her affair. It was to systematically dismantle the network of relationships she'd been exploiting. "One more thing," Blake said as we prepared to leave. "Her friend Tasha? The one she's supposedly been helping through relationship problems? What about her?" "Tasha's boyfriend is the personal trainer I mentioned. Jessica's been sleeping with him too. Tasha has no idea her best friend is the reason her relationship is falling apart." The irony was perfect. Jessica had been using Tasha's relationship drama as cover for her own affairs, while simultaneously being the cause of that drama. "This is going to be fun," I said, shaking Blake's hand. Just remember, when this is over, we never met, and I was never involved. Agreed. But Blake? Yeah? After we're done with her, if I ever see you near my neighborhood again, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation. He nodded, understanding perfectly. Our alliance was temporary and tactical, nothing more. I drove home that night with Jessica's old phone burning a hole in my jacket pocket. She was already asleep when I got back, probably exhausted from another day of damage control at work. I sat in my home office until 3 in the morning, cataloging every piece of evidence on that phone. By dawn, I had a complete battle plan. Jessica thought she was playing chess, while everyone else was playing checkers. She was about to learn that some of us had been playing a completely different game all along. Tasha Martinez had the kind of face that belonged on a greeting card. Open, trusting, completely unprepared for the conversation we were about to have. We met at a coffee shop in Cambridge, far enough from Jessica's usual haunts to avoid accidental encounters. I don't understand why you wanted to meet, she said, stirring sugar into her latte with nervous energy. Jessica doesn't know I'm here, does she? No, and that's probably for the best. I pulled out a tablet and opened the folder I'd prepared. Tasha, how long have you and Jessica been friends? Night. Since college. Almost 10 years. Why? And in all that time, has she ever given you reason not to trust her? Tasha's laugh was uncertain. Of course not. Jessica's the most loyal person I know. She's been helping me through this whole situation with Danny Rodriguez. Your boyfriend of 2 years. Personal trainer at Elite Fitness downtown. Her face went pale. How do you know Danny's last name? I don't think I ever told Jessica his. I turned the tablet around and showed her the first screenshot. It was a message thread between Jessica and Danny, dated 3 weeks ago. The conversation was flirtatious but not explicit, just suggestive enough to be damning. I don't understand, Tasha whispered, but her voice said she understood perfectly. There's more. I swiped to the next screenshot, then the next. 3 months of messages between her best friend and her boyfriend. Plans to meet, photos exchanged, complaints about how clingy Tasha had become. Tasha's coffee cup rattled against the saucer as her hands started shaking. She's been telling me that Danny was pulling away because he was stressed about work. She said I should give him space, stop being so needy. She was managing both sides of your relationship, I said gently, creating problems between you and Danny so she could swoop in as the solution. Classic manipulation. But why? Why would she do this to me? I showed her another screenshot, a message where Jessica described the situation to Blake Turner. Because she gets off on controlling people. You, me, Danny, Blake. We're all just characters in her personal drama. Tasha was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks in dark streams. I defended her to my other friends. When they said she was self-centered, when they said she only called when she needed something, I always took her side. She counted on that loyalty, used it against you. What do you want from me? Tasha asked, wiping her eyes with a napkin. I want Jessica to face consequences for what she's done. To you, to me, to everyone she's manipulated. But I need your help to make it happen. I don't know if I can. She's still sleeping with your boyfriend, I interrupted. They have a date planned for tomorrow night. While you're sitting at home wondering why your relationship is falling apart, they'll be laughing about how easy it was to fool you. Something hardened in Tasha's expression. What do you need me to do? We spent the next hour planning Jessica's professional downfall. Tasha had connections in Boston's PR industry, competitors who would love to see Jessica's firm lose clients, journalists who owed Tasha favors, influencers who could spread gossip faster than wildfire. Her boss, Richard Kellerman, is married to a city councilwoman, Tasha explained. Very conservative, very concerned about image. If Richard's wife found out he was having inappropriate conversations with a subordinate, Jessica's been messaging with her boss? Oh, you don't know about Richard? Tasha's smile was sharp with newfound purpose. Jessica's been working that angle for months, staying late, going to client dinners alone with him, playing up the supportive employee role. His wife already suspects something. I handed Tasha a USB drive containing screenshots of Jessica's messages with Richard Kellerman. They weren't explicitly romantic, but they were definitely unprofessional. Late-night texts about working closely together and special projects that required discretion. Anonymous tip to Mrs. Kellerman, Tasha suggested. Better, anonymous tip to the Boston Business Journal. Let them ask the questions. More credible that way. By the time we finished our planning session, Tasha had transformed from heartbroken victim to focused ally. Jessica had created an enemy with inside knowledge of her professional vulnerabilities. There's something else, Tasha said as we prepared to leave. Jessica's been taking credit for other people's work at the firm. I know because my cousin works there as a junior associate. Jessica's been stealing ideas from the younger employees and presenting them as her own. Documentation? My cousin's been keeping records. She was planning to file a complaint with HR, but she was afraid it would hurt her career. Not anymore. After this week, Jessica won't be in a position to hurt anyone's career. That evening, I watched Jessica pace around our apartment, phone pressed to her ear as she tried to manage another crisis. Someone had sent screenshots of her messages to several of her clients, raising questions about her professionalism and judgment. I don't know how they got these messages, she was saying to whoever was on the other end. Someone is systematically trying to destroy my reputation. She was right, of course. Someone was systematically destroying her reputation. The difference was that now she'd earned it. Maybe you should take a vacation, I suggested when she hung up. Get away from all this stress for a while. I can't leave now. If I'm not here to defend myself, people will assume the worst. What could they assume that would be worse than what's already happening? Jessica looked at me with something approaching panic. Greg, what if someone finds out about... She stopped herself. Finds out about what? Nothing. I'm just paranoid. This whole situation has me imagining worst-case scenarios, but I could see the calculation in her eyes. She was wondering how much I knew, how much I suspected. The paranoia was setting in, making her sloppy. My phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. Package delivered to Mrs. Kellerman. Expect fireworks tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day. The fireworks started at 9:15 a.m. when Jessica's phone rang with a call from Richard Kellerman. I was pretending to read the newspaper while she paced around the kitchen, her voice getting higher with each passing minute. Richard, I can explain. No, those messages were taken out of context. Richard, please. The call ended abruptly, and Jessica stared at her phone like it had just bitten her. What happened? I asked, though I already knew. Someone sent screenshots of my work messages to Richard's wife. She confronted him this morning and demanded he fire me immediately. Jessica's voice was hollow. He said the company can't afford the scandal. I'm being terminated for conduct unbecoming a professional representative. Yeah, that seems harsh for some work messages. They weren't just work messages. Jessica sat down heavily at the kitchen table. Richard and I had developed a close working relationship. Nothing physical, but maybe the boundaries got a little blurred. A little blurred. Like her affair with Blake had been just friendship, and her manipulation of Tasha had been being supportive. I'm sorry, I said. And part of me actually meant it. Watching someone's life implode in real time was more unsettling than I'd expected. Greg, I need to tell you something. Jessica reached across the table and took my hand. I haven't been completely honest with you lately. Here it comes, I thought. The confession, the tears, the plea for forgiveness. I've been struggling with our marriage, feeling disconnected, like we're just going through the motions. I started spending time with someone else, not physically, just emotionally. And I think someone found out and is using it to hurt me. Someone else, a man from my gym, Blake Turner. We were just friends, but I can see how it might have looked inappropriate to an outsider. Just friends. The woman had been sending naked photos to multiple men and was still trying to minimize her behavior. Do you think Blake might be behind all this? I asked. Maybe he wanted more than friendship and got angry when you didn't reciprocate. Jessica's eyes lit up with hope. That's exactly what I was thinking. He's been acting strange lately, asking weird questions about you and our marriage. And he has the technical skills to hack social media accounts. He manages his own online presence for his fitness brand. Perfect. She was ready to throw Blake under the bus to save herself. Unfortunately for Jessica, Blake and I had anticipated this move. Maybe we should confront him, I suggested. Get some answers. Would you do that? Come with me to talk to him. Of course. We're a team. That evening, we met Blake at his gym after hours. He'd arranged for us to have access to the VIP training room, a private space with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a perfect view of the main workout floor. Blake was waiting for us with Tasha, which surprised Jessica but didn't seem to alarm her. She was too focused on controlling the narrative to notice the trap closing around her. Jessica, Blake said, his voice cold and professional. We need to talk. Blake, thank God. Someone has been spreading lies about us, making it look like we were having an affair. You need to help me convince Greg that nothing happened between us. Nothing happened? Tasha's voice was sharp with anger. Nothing happened when you were sleeping with my boyfriend? Nothing happened when you were sending photos to half the men in Boston? Jessica's face went white. Tasha, I don't know what you're talking about. Stop lying. Tasha pulled out her phone and started reading from Jessica's old messages. Quote, Tokens names. Tasha is so needy and pathetic. Danny only stays with her out of pity. I'm doing him a favor by giving him what she can't. End quote. Where did you get those messages? From your old phone, I said, pulling the device out of my pocket. The one you left at Blake's apartment. The one with all your photos, all your messages, all your manipulative schemes documented in perfect detail. Jessica looked around the room like a trapped animal, finally understanding that her 3 victims had compared notes. Greg, please, I can explain everything. Explain how you've been cheating on me for months while making me feel like I was imagining problems in our marriage. Explain how you stole my boyfriend and then convinced me I was the problem in our relationship, Tasha added. Explain how you threatened to destroy my career when I tried to end our affair, Blake finished. Jessica's composure finally cracked completely. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. My job, my marriage, everyone expecting me to be perfect all the time. I needed something for myself, something that made me feel alive again. So you decided to ruin everyone else's life, instead of dealing with your own problems like an adult, I said. It wasn't supposed to go this far. It was just supposed to be fun, a distraction. Fun? Tasha's voice rose to a shout. Destroying my relationship was fun for you? Jessica tried to run for the door, but Blake had locked it from the inside. She pounded on the glass, but the gym was empty except for us. Let me out. This is kidnapping. This is a conversation, I corrected. The same kind of honest conversation you should have had with me months ago, instead of lying and cheating. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the gym's presentation system. The large screen on the wall lit up with a slideshow I'd prepared. Screenshots of Jessica's messages, photos she'd sent to various men, evidence of her manipulation and lies. What are you doing? Jessica demanded. Giving you the same treatment you gave us. Public humiliation. I clicked to the next slide, which showed her messages mocking Tasha's relationship problems. The only difference is that everything I'm showing is true. Jessica lunged for the laptop, but Blake caught her arm. Don't make this worse for yourself. Worse? How could this possibly be worse? Because we haven't posted any of this online yet, I said. We haven't sent it to your remaining clients, your family, your college alumni group, or the fitness influencers you've been harassing with unsolicited photos. What do you want from me? I want you to understand what it feels like to have your life destroyed by someone you trusted, Tasha said. I want you to experience the same humiliation you put me through. I want you to disappear from my life completely, Blake added. No more threats, no more manipulation, no more contact of any kind, and I want a divorce, I finished. A quiet, uncontested divorce, where you take responsibility for destroying our marriage, and don't try to blame me or claim any assets you haven't earned. Jessica looked around the room one more time, calculating her options. There weren't any good ones left. And if I agree to all of that, then we keep this evidence private, I said. Your reputation is already damaged, but it could recover eventually. Fight us, and we'll make sure everyone in Boston knows exactly who Jessica Quinn really is. Jessica's shoulders sagged in defeat. I never meant for any of this to happen. Yes, you did, I replied. You meant for all of it to happen. You just thought you were smart enough not to get caught. The gym's main lights suddenly flicked on, and we could see a crowd gathering outside the VIP room windows. Someone had called the local news about a confrontation at Elite Fitness, and reporters were setting up cameras in the parking lot. Jessica saw the cameras and started crying. Please don't let them film this. My career is already over. Don't make it worse. But it was too late. The story was already spreading on social media, tagged with the gym's location and Jessica's name. By morning, everyone in Boston's professional community would know about the confrontation. As we finally unlocked the door and prepared to face the crowd outside, Jessica grabbed my arm one last time. Greg, I really did love you, at the beginning at least. I know, I said. That's what makes this so much worse. The cameras flashed as we emerged from the gym, Jessica covering her face while Tasha and Blake slipped out the back entrance. I walked straight through the crowd of reporters, ignoring their shouted questions. It was over. Jessica's career, our marriage, her web of manipulation, all of it was finished. She'd built her life on lies and deception, and now she was facing the consequences. As I drove home through the Boston streets, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: relief. The truth was finally out. The games were over, and I could start rebuilding my life without wondering what Jessica was hiding from me. The revenge had been more complete than I'd ever imagined possible. Jessica Quinn had destroyed herself with her own actions, her own words, her own documented cruelty. All I'd done was make sure the right people saw the evidence. And sometimes the best revenge is simply letting someone face the natural consequences of their choices. Jessica had made her choices, and now she was living with the results. The story ended there, in that gym, with the cameras flashing and the truth finally exposed. No epilogue needed, no redemption arc required. Just the cold satisfaction of watching someone reap exactly what they had sown.